Hello, everybody. This is Namtox from NTF Gaming, back with another episode of Factual Opinions, the only place to get the correct opinion on the state of video games. And right before Turkey Day, we are going to look at another long-standing American tradition, and that is the yearly Call of Duty release. Every year, there's a new Call of Duty. Always comes out in November. And now it's getting a bit tougher to review these games because it used to be Treyarch or Sledgehammer or, Infinity Ward. Whoever was making the games, they usually felt very different. They had very different mechanics. One game you can dolphin dive, one you couldn't. Treyarch had zombies, somebody else had different mode, or they had Spec Ops. That's kind of been gone the past 4 or 5 years because they all kind of have the same feature set. They've kind of been just branded into just one singular experience regardless of who's making it. And now the big difference with all the Call of Duty games are more of the setting, the weapons you're using, and the tone of the campaign. Last year, Infinite Warfare decided to go full-blown sci-fi, like just brand new universe. You're out in the galaxy. You're going planet to planet. It was a great campaign. I love the campaign from Infinite Warfare. I had given that game a 4 out of 5 based on that campaign alone. But the multiplayer was really bad. I don't like sci-fi Call of Duty multiplayer. I feel like it clashes with the fundamental stuff I like about their multiplayer design and how it works. And Call of Duty World War II, which is this year's game, is that, quote-unquote, boots on the ground return to the form that some players have been dying for because the vast majority of the audience doesn't like the booster jumps and the sci-fi tint. Not even I do, really, when it comes to Call of Duty. So how does it all hold up? Pretty damn good. Now, I'll just get zombies out of the way. If you're a fan of zombies, this year's Zombies is good. They have cool characters. They have their own set of loot boxes and unlockables. The map design is really awesome. The way it goes, the storyline development for it. This is a really good Zombies iteration, but Zombies has never been my thing. It's really good. It's cool. It's fine. It's just not what I come to Call of Duty for. But if that's what you're here for, you're going to be very satisfied. The multiplayer. Multiplayer is kind of crazy because it has the same suite of modes it always has. Team Deathmatch, Search and Destroy, Capture the Flag. They have a new mode called Gridiron, which is kind of silly. It's like a football type thing. And I'm sure there's going to be a subset of people who go really hard into it. But the new mode here, the one that really grabs me, is War. If you ever played Unreal Tournament 3, Assault in Unreal Tournament, or Return to Castle Wolfenstein, it is a very brief burst of crazy action because you have these larger maps that are objective based, and you're always attacking or defending with usually 1 or 2 different objectives. And if the attacking team takes it, you push forward into a new zone of the map. It's not a new game type by any means. It's been in multiplayer games plenty of times before in the past, but there's something about Call of Duty's frenetic pace and the gunplay that sits really well with an attack and defend kind of gameplay twist. Because Team Deathmatch is the same Team Deathmatch you've played before. Bad spawns, people running everywhere, janky servers. Even though now it's dedicated, so it has been better since launch because it did launch very rough. But I think War just kind of structures Call of Duty in a way that just really speaks to me. And based on this mode alone, I've already played the multiplayer of this game more than I have in the past 5 or 6 probably combined. I really love the War mode. I feel like it adds a lot to Call of Duty. It adds a structure to it to kind of rein in all the craziness around the edges. And that on top of the really cool headquarters. It is the social space. It is like their version of the tower. You're on a beachhead. You have your character. You customize them. And instead of the pick 10 system they have from the past, they have a division system, which is a little bit more rigid, like the military would be. And you have, armor, you have infantry, you have airborne, and that basically affects your starting loadout, the guns you bring with you, your perks. It's all fine. It's just, a different twist to the standard Call of Duty formula. You have loot boxes. You can't pay for them with real money, except yesterday they put the patch in. So we'll see how crazy that gets, but it's Call of Duty and it hasn't really been disruptive. The multiplayer is totally fine. I like it a lot. War mode especially, I'll be coming back to time and time again. I love that mode. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes, the campaign. I know you're thinking, who plays Call of Duty for the campaign? A lot of people. A lot of people. A lot more than the average person thinks. The campaign is kind of a tough nut to crack because right away you can tell they're going for a very grim, very serious, a very mature storyline. And I mean, it starts off with D-Day, which I feel like hasn't been done since Medal of Honor tried to crack that egg, a few years ago. And I will say, in terms of D-Day invasion missions, it's good. The problem is D-Day is so rote, and it's been done so many times before that it's just hard to make D-Day innovative. As beautiful as the game looks, as great as it sounds, and I've played it on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. It's fantastic looking, but it's still D-Day. You're going to run up on the beach, 30 seconds, Bandalore, take out the bunker, flamethrowers. Everybody knows it like the back of their hand, even if you haven't played one of them, through sheer osmosis of pop culture. Once you get past that initial mission and that kind of like feeling, there's a couple of things they do. There's a squad mechanic where you can call for med kits because there is no regenerating health. Talk about a throwback to 90s FPS shooter design. And then you go from there. You follow a set of characters this time. You don't really bounce around from hero to hero as much as you did before. And the performances are great. The storyline goes in interesting directions. It doesn't have the same like hoorah ending that you would expect because it goes up to the end of the war and beyond. The problem is the tone of all the cutscenes, the tone of the storyline, the direction it's going, and the maturity, the grim nature of war in general, and being in these hellish scenarios, and what happened during World War II with the Holocaust. They actually are bold enough to touch on those things, and I applaud them for that. I feel like more developers should feel emboldened to tackle taboo social issues. The problem is the gameplay, as realistic and tactical as they're trying to make it with World War II, with no regenerating health, with relying on the squad to get through a mission, those are all well and good. But even with all those mechanics, you as a single soldier are still way too effective at killing everybody in the typical theme park style level design that Call of Duty is known for. I mean, the levels are linear. You're going through a set storyline. There's no branching pathways. There's no choosing different outcomes like in Infinite Warfare last year. And by the end of the Call of Duty campaign, my regular, private in the military in this hellish war had killed more people than BJ Blazkowicz in Wolfenstein 2. It's kind of crazy because the tones just do not match. It's very interesting, complex the way they mix the two, but I feel like the actual gameplay is too G.I. Joe and Inglourious Bastards, while the storyline is very like Band of Brothers. It's not about the glory. It's not all about like killing a million Germans and saving the day, but that's exactly what they present to you with their gameplay, and then they're presenting you the other thing with the storyline. The storyline itself, like I said, I like it. It's enjoyable. I actually knew the names of the characters, which says a lot for a Call of Duty campaign, and I just wish that in some moments of that campaign, I know they want to have their big blockbuster scenes, their big epic action, but mixing the tone of a Band of Brothers or a Saving Private Ryan with the action of like a Michael Bay World War II movie with explosions and train crashes and just these epic set pieces, it just creates a tonal shift that I don't feel meshes too well. And I feel like that tonal shift is always at odds the entire game, and it just wraps up a little bit too neat at the end for how dark and grim and messed up war actually is. And I feel like the storyline is taking it there until it gets to the last 5%, and without spoiling anything here, they just kind of, okay, everything's happy, everything's well, everything's good, and I really wish that they had just put the hammer down and just let it end on that grim note. I feel like Infinite Warfare last year, being in a sci-fi universe free of any preconceived notions of history and what it meant to be in that war or war in general, allowed that storyline to go to darker places, and because it did, you had more feelings for the characters and the plot. So overall, I feel like Call of Duty is a crazy mix of things when it comes to the campaign, but overall I still enjoyed it. I played it in like two 2 sittings, apologies, and I had a good time, and I'd recommend if you're a fan of their campaigns, you at least play through it, see it, enjoy the spectacle. Just know that it's not going to, like, live up to what the story is building to. And as long as you're okay with that, I think you're going to have a great time. I want to give Call of Duty a 4 out of 5. I'm having a ton of fun with the multiplayer. Zombies has actually been pretty good this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed that campaign. Not enough to replay it multiple times like I did with Infinite Warfare, but it is very good despite the tonal shifts. I just feel like you should be aware of that, and I wish that they would pick a direction and be a little bit more bold. Although I know it's Activision, it's a major product, there's only so far they're going to be able to take it when it comes to the heavy, weighty questions that I feel like with the platform they have, they can start to give. So that's my factual opinion of Call of Duty World War II. I actually really enjoy it. It's really good. It's a solid experience. 4 out of 5. If you're a fan of the series, definitely pick it up. And if you have been disenchanted by the last few multiplayer experiences they've offered, this one rights the ship, in my opinion. So have a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed Thanksgiving. Hope you guys enjoyed these reviews. And we'll be kicking it forward next week with some Star Wars and Xenoblade 2 coverage. My name is Namtox. I work for NTFGaming.com. Have a good one, everybody. 4 out of 5. Later.